Okay. So today is your first class of oscillations, waves, and optics. So I will be teaching this unit to you. So before we start today's lecture, I would briefly go through, what is the plan, how we are going to cover these topics, and maybe also tell you some books that you can refer to, and in general, how you should look at this subject. Okay, so before I begin the oscillations wave in optics, let me very quickly introduce myself. Okay, so my name is Priyanka, and I have done my both graduation and post graduation from University of Delhi. After that, I did my PhD from IIT Delhi, and the area of my research in my PhD was singular optics and image processing. Okay, so it was related to optics. And after that, I did a postdoctoral studies in a DRDO research project. And part time, I'm teaching at Elevate. Okay, so that is sort of my education background. Now, let us start with today's lecture. Okay, so you can see on your screen that I have listed the topics which are to be covered in this unit. So let us just look at the title first. Okay, the title of the unit is Oscillations, Waves, and Optics. So from the title itself, we know that we are going to cover three different topics here. One is going to be oscillations, second is waves, and third is optics. Okay, so why these three topics have been clubbed together is because without the understanding of oscillatory motion or how a simple harmonic oscillator works, you cannot appreciate wave motion. Because what is wave? Wave is only made by a collection of large number of oscillators. Large number of oscillating particles together will form a wave. Okay, and optics may, the portion that we are going to cover here is both geometrical and wave optics. So to understand the wave phenomena in optics, which is basically the interference or the polarization or the diffraction, so for that we need a thorough understanding of what are waves. Okay, so the syllabus, the sequence in which we will go is going to be the same as it's written in front of you. That first we will develop our concepts of oscillations, which will involve, first understanding what is a simple harmonic oscillator, how do you find its general solution, what are its properties, and then we'll move to, more than one harmonic oscillators. You have two, three, n number of harmonic oscillators. What happens when you try to understand the motion of these harmonic oscillators together? Okay, so when you have multiple harmonic oscillators undergoing their individual shms, so what is the total motion that you would observe? So that is what we will understand next. Then we will do Lissajous figures. So Lissajous figures you might have already also seen yourself in your lab, when, I mean, I remember we used to do this experiment on CRO where we would have two sinusoidal oscillations and we would send them, in perpendicular axes, and then we will form all these different sort of figures based on the phase difference between the two oscillations. So that is what Lissajous figures is. So we will learn how to plot Lissajous figures, and if a Lissajous figure is given to us, then if can we tell what is the phase difference between the two oscillating modes? Okay, like those kind of things we'll study there. Then we will go to damped and forced oscillators. So see, what is a simple harmonic oscillator? Here, the only force that is going to be, acting on the system is the restoring force. So simple harmonic oscillator is unaffected by any other external force. There is no friction and there is no driving forces. So it will just keep on undergoing its oscillatory motion only because of the presence of the restoring force. Okay, so then what we are going to do is we will add some sort of dissipative forces into this oscillator, so that now it's no longer a simple harmonic oscillator, but it will be a damped harmonic oscillators where oscillations will damp out as the with time. Okay, and slowly the oscillations will come to zero. Then now this will be like more closer to what we expect in nature. You know, everywhere we have dissipative forces, so this will be a sort of more a closer explanation of what we see in nature. But then we will also study forced oscillators. So what we will do in forced oscillators is that now our oscillations are dying because of these dissipative forces, so we will add an extra driving force to it so as to maintain the amplitude of the oscillations. Okay, so that is like a forced oscillators. And then we will study the resonance phenomena in forced oscillators. Okay, so you see how on top of each topic, slowly you will build your understanding of oscillators. Okay, and oscillations. So this is going to be the um, first main topic of the syllabus, and probably after we finish oscillations we will do a class test. Okay, then we will go to wave equation. So then we'll study wave equation, traveling and standing waves, and all the terms associated with wave motion and all the properties. For example, we will study group velocity and phase velocity and those things. So with this, we will have a good understanding of wave motion. After that, uh, is there a question? Please mute yourself, those of you who have just joined. Okay. Yeah, is there any question? Okay, so then we will also very briefly study sound waves and Doppler effect associated with sound waves. And this will sort of complete our section of on waves. Okay, then whatever topics are remaining, they are covered in the optics section. So we will have geometrical optics, and then we will have wave optics. So the way we are going to do is that after completing waves, we will first look into the wave optics portion. So that is starting from this interference of light. So from here to till the end, till optical rotation, these topics we'll cover first, and in the end we will look at geometrical optics, where we will treat light as a bunch of rays and do all these geometrical constructions to understand various phenomena. So I will do geometrical optics in the end because it's sort of a slightly
Hello.
the yeah. Okay,
Ma'am, you can
so
mute everyone, I think. Sorry.
um wait a second. Okay, I think everybody is muted now. Okay, only one person was not muted. Okay, so wait a second. So we will do geometrical optics in the end because the way or the things that we have to read there is a little bit different from the rest of the flow. Okay, so this is the syllabus that we'll cover. But you might ask that why to study oscillations, waves, and optics in the first place. You know how important this topic is. So if you will look into the recent years question, like the IT JAM question papers, if you'll pick up, so you will see that there has been a trend in which more and more questions are being asked from this unit. So earlier, if you will see, like in 2010 or 2012 papers, if you will see, hardly 2 questions, 3 questions were asked from this unit. But as recent as 2021 or 2022, almost 7 to 8 questions are being asked from this subject. And it's a fairly simple subject, okay? It's not something on which you cannot easily have a command. You can easily learn all these things. So you should not miss out on those 7 to 8 or maybe up to 10 questions just because you neglect this subject, okay? So if I talk about some like the ratio of questions which are being asked from like topic wise, so from wave optics, up to 50% of questions come, okay? So wave optics may mostly questions would come on polarization, Malus law, and different orientations of polarizers, analyzers, and all those things, and some questions on interference and diffraction. So only these three topics will almost, you'll be able to solve 4 or 5 questions in your JAM exam. Then geometrical optics or ray optics would have almost 20% of the questions would come where you would be given various combinations of lenses, and you might have to tell some magnification, or you might have to you might be given some system with various mirrors, and you have to tell different angles in like simple, fairly simple, straightforward formula based questions, okay? So this is like 70% of the questions will come from optics part, but you will be able to do justice to the optics part when you have a good understanding of oscillations and waves. So 30% of questions would come from oscillations and waves section, okay? So I will list down a few books for you to refer, but you don't have to actually refer to these books if you have already if you have some favorite books which you have already studied optics from, or you have really liked in your undergraduate studies. So please feel free to refer to those books, because it's always better to refer to those books which you like, okay? So you don't have to necessarily refer to the books which I'm going to write now. Whatever book you are comfortable with, please continue with that. And in most of the cases, I think the theory portion which I am going to cover is going to be more than sufficient for you. So what you can sort of look into is, like, from your own side, is that to practice a little bit more numericals. I'll give some homework problems. We will also give you assignment in some time, maybe a week or so. But till then, or even later on, what you have to focus more is on solving problems and not spending too much time in reading theory. So if you like any book, it's easy for you to read that book, then please do read it. But if some book that I have recommended is extremely a difficult read for you, and बहुत ही मेहनत लग रहा है वो बुक पढ़ने में, तो there is no necessity. All the books have the same concepts. The only difference is किसी बुक में ऐसा लैंग्वेज लिखा होता है which you find comfortable, and similarly there might be some book which I find comfortable in reading. That's all, okay? So I'm going to recommend books by 2 topics. So first part of like the first list of books is on oscillations and waves. So these 2 topics are usually covered in one set of books, and optics is usually covered in another type of books. You would hardly find books which would cover all of them in the amount of detail that we want to study, okay? So I will just list down few books for oscillations and waves. So first book for that would be, I think everybody might have read it, N.K. Bajaj. It has lots of mistakes in it also. So you have to keep your eyes open while you are reading it. But then it also describes almost the whole of the syllabus in gory detail. I mean, really gory detail. So you can see this book. the physics of waves and oscillations. This is by N.K. Bajaj. Then the second book for this is the Physics of Waves. This is by Howard Georgi. So this book is actually recommended in MIT courses. So a few initial chapters will be useful to us, but this book is not that thorough. So it's good for sort of, it might have some things which are not given in NK Bajaj because it's written with a slightly different perspective. So like some plots and those things are given here better, like numerically plotting some results, those things are given here. Then the third would be waves and oscillations. Uh, this is by R.N. Chaudhary. So this book I have not, I'm never going to consult this for theory, but it has some 470 numericals, like solved and unsolved problems. So maybe if you want to try some numericals on your own, so maybe this is the book. Then there is a book, Introduction to Vibrations and Waves. Uh, this is by Payne, but this is not a pain to read. So, Introduction to Vibrations and Waves by Payne and Rankin. So, this is one book which also covers a little bit of optics, okay? And you can easily find ebooks for all of these. I have ebooks for all of these, not for NK Bajaj, but rest of them. So, if you want me to give you any of these, so please let me know. I will share it either in the app or maybe in the WhatsApp group. Okay, so I have ebooks for all of these books. Then there is a waves and oscillations. This is actually by Walter Fox Smith. So the point about this book is that this book is actually not written from the point of view of an optics student. So this is basically written from the point of view for somebody who wants to start quantum mechanics. Okay, because in quantum mechanics you also deal with wave functions, but physics is same. It doesn't matter if you're reading optics or quantum, but few basic principles are same everywhere. So this book also describes quite nicely in the initial, I think, 2 or 3 chapters what waves and oscillations and other things are. So this is the full name of this book is this, A Prelude to Quantum Mechanics. Okay, you can check out this book. This might, okay, who is talking? So you can check out this book if you want to also read it from the perspective of quantum mechanics. Okay, who is this person? पता नहीं. Okay, so somebody has sent me a message that they would like to have the ebooks. Okay, so then I will share the ebooks. I'll find a way to share it so that everybody gets it. So these are some of the, I've written 5 books for oscillations and waves, part of the syllabus. But if you know any other book which you like, please refer to that, okay? So next I'm going to write some books for optics, which are not many, because I have only one book which I like. in one book I'm going to write because everybody reads that. So the book I like is Optics by Eugene Hecht. This is a very beautiful book. So, mostly the optics section I would be teaching from here, and maybe some couple of internet sources, which I'll tell you when we'll do that part. But this book is good enough if you really want to appreciate optics. It's written very thoroughly. And if you cannot get the newer edition of this book, so in that case, you can also, if you get the older editions of this book by Hecht, so there is a Shom's series on optics. So this is also written by Hecht. So if you're buying this book, or if you have the newer edition of this book, then the problems given in optics by Eugene Hecht is enough. But if you happen to find the earlier versions of this book, like older editions, maybe third, fourth, like that, in that case, Shom series का optics के ऊपर जो numerical book है, that is very good, like as a supplementary book for quickly revising the important topics and solving some numericals. And then there is Optics by Ghatak. So I think it's A. Ajoy Kumar Ghatak. Okay, so I think everybody has Ghatak with them. I personally I'm not going to follow Ghatak from starting to the end, because I do not like the way it has been organized. It's not very friendly to beginners. It's more I don't know. I mean, Ghatak is from IIT Delhi, and I did my PhD from IIT Delhi, and Ghatak is a really celebrated teacher among us. But somehow I feel this book could have been organized in a much better way. I mean, Hecht does a much better sort of coverage of the whole field, and you really enjoy reading the book. It never feels like a book, it's like a story book. So if you have never read Eugene Hecht, this Optics by Eugene Hecht, so maybe just try to see on Amazon. You might have some preview if you want to see the initial chapters, like that. Okay, so this is all I wanted to discuss about how we are going to do the syllabus, and what are the books. So maybe we will have 4 class tests or 5. So one class test I will take after we'll finish the oscillations part. Okay, so that means till this section. So it will take us 8 to 9 lectures to finish this much. And yes, one thing which I would like all of you who are seriously preparing is to make a notebook for your own notes. Okay, this you have to do, because sometimes it happens that you will listen to the lectures and you will think, okay, I understand everything, it's okay, it's easy, and then you don't write it down yourself, or you don't revise it. So after 5 or 6 lectures, or maybe at the time when we have a class test, you will not be able to read yourself just from these notes. Okay, so you have to either, when I'm teaching in the class, just keep a habit of noting down things which you find important. At least maintain a notebook for your own sake. That is very important in online classes. I think many students miss that point. They think that later on they'll get the notes, but sometimes when I'm writing something on the notes, I will write those things which I think are important. But as a student, when you are listening to me, I might say something which you think is important, which you should write it down in your notebook. Okay, so please try to maintain a notebook with your own notes for your own revision. Okay, so enough of all this. So now we will begin with our lecture. Okay, so let us start with the simple harmonic oscillator. So if we look at the syllabus, The first topic is the differential equation for simple harmonic oscillator and its general solution. Okay, so we will start with this topic today. So let me write it down. Okay. So let us start with a very basic question. What do we mean by oscillation? Okay. So when you think of oscillation, what comes to your head? What kind of picture comes to your head? Oscillation is like the basic definition of oscillation or oscillatory motion would be that you have some mass or some body or something, okay, and that body is actually doing some to and fro motion between some two endpoints. So there the extent, some two endpoints are fixed, some A and B position, and this body is actually going to and fro between these endpoints, and somewhere in the middle might be body was at rest. Okay, so when you think of pendulum, if the pendulum is at rest, the bob of the pendulum is at rest, and you slightly disturb the equilibrium position and you release it, so the bob starts going in this to and fro motion, and with and that is something which we say is like a oscillation. That is how we picture an oscillatory motion. For example, if you look at a tree and there is a branch of the tree and you are standing, you are looking at the tree, you take the branch, you slightly, pull it down and release it. So the branch starts going like that. So what is that? That is like a oscillatory motion. So in almost all subjects of physics, simple harmonic, like all subjects, I mean all parts of physics as a subject, simple harmonic motion is very important because many of the difficult motions that we see could be sometimes, understood by using this system known as a simple harmonic motion. For example, just now I told you, let us say that there is a tree and there is a branch on the tree, and a bird comes and it sits on that branch. Now this branch is extremely thin, what patla branch hai, and this bird comes and it sits on the branch. Then what happens? The branch will slightly move down, maybe it will go like this, and then it will come to rest at at some position, right? So if somebody will tell you, will ask you that, okay, you have this tree, you have this branch, a bird came and you saw the branch slightly oscillating and coming to some rest position. So they ask you that, find out at what place the branch came at rest, or find out how much time the branch took to come to rest, and all these kind of questions somebody asks you to calculate. So there are a lot of things at play right now. Okay, you have air drag, you have gravity, and then there is some weight in the bird, and then there is some weight of the branch. So if you will try to solve this question by taking into account all these forces, it will be an extremely difficult problem to solve. Okay, so as a physicist, the first line of action is to convert this problem into a very simple system that maybe we can, investigate, and maybe we can find out something which is approximately true for this complicated system. So in that case, what we will say is that we will sort of assume that this branch, which is sort of oscillating, is maybe doing some harmonic oscillators, and we will, try to simplify the problem, and we'll try to get some understanding of this system. So that is how we try to solve problems in physics. So in almost all the branches of physics, simple harmonic oscillator is important because it finds some sort of simple explanation in some very difficult problem. Okay, you can mostly reduce the difficult problem in by doing some assumptions, and you can then study a simple harmonic oscillatory motion many times. So oscillation, then what is oscillation? Oscillation is the to and fro motion of some mass Okay, and this motion has there are fixed endpoints where this particle or this mass is actually oscillating, and it is oscillating about its equilibrium position, and this path is always the same. Okay, the pendulum bob is always going to go like this. If it starts going like this, okay, then we will not say it's a simple harmonic motion. So when we talk about oscillations, they are always the same path. The object is going to go back and forth. Okay, so um, so let us look at a very simple system, which is a spring mass system. Okay, let us first try to find out what is the differential equation for a simple harmonic oscillator, and then we'll try to look at its solution and different things that we can calculate. Okay, like acceleration, velocity, energy, and because these are very simple formulas, and sometimes question comes on very simple direct formulas. So let us consider the case where, okay, so here I have some mass m is sitting here, okay, and some spring I have connected to this mass. So this mass is sitting on a surface with no friction. So the surface is actually not going to contribute to any dissipation of energy. So it's a frictionless surface. And this spring which I have considered is also an ideal spring. Okay, what do I mean by an ideal spring is that it is light. That means it is almost massless. Okay, it's extremely light. And the second thing is that it follows Hooke's law. Okay, so let me just write these things for you. So I am considering the system at some time t is equal to 0. So I have some time t is equal to 0. Okay, so first thing I said was that it's a light spring. That means it's massless. It's an ideal spring. Okay, and second thing I'm saying is that it follows Hooke's law. Okay, so and the spring constant is equal to k. Okay, so these are the things that are given to us. So now what is Hooke's law? Hooke's law states that if you will try to, if you will try to pull the spring, or if you will try to compress the spring is going to exert a restoring force which is proportional to the compression or the elongation of the spring, but in the direction opposite to the compression or the elongation of the spring. So what I mean is that if I have this spring and I have some mass over here and I pull the mass, that means I have elongated the spring, so the spring will try to pull the mass back. So the restoring force is going to act in a direction which is opposite to the direction of the elongation. So I'm pulling the spring that side, and the spring is trying to pull the mass back. Okay, so the restoring force is going to be given like this. Okay, so it's going to be proportional to the what is x, I will just draw here. Okay, but by x I mean the elongation, the extra elongation or the compression in the length of the spring. Okay, so now what I do is that at some time t, we are going to disturb this system. So let us say that this was some initial or the equilibrium position where the mass was at rest initially. So I am saying that this is some x initial. And now what I have done is that I slightly, pull the mass and release it. Okay. then I want to see how the motion is going to happen. So now in this diagram, what I'm going to draw is that, let us say that I have pulled the mass up to this place. Now the mass comes here, and my spring is now, extended. Now this is some new position, and I am saying that this is x. So the elongation is x now. And now what is our goal is that we want to find out, also see the system that we are considering has only 1 degree of freedom. That means the mass can only move along x direction. It cannot move along y direction or z direction. It is constrained to move only along the x direction. So it has only 1 degree of freedom right now. So now the question that we are asking is that when I pull the mass and release it, then I know that some kind of motion is going to happen. I want to find out a mathematical expression that what motion should I expect. Although we know that what is going to happen is some oscillatory motion we'll get, but let us see that how do we get that mathematically. Okay, so now let us just look at this mass m first. So now what are the forces which are acting on this mass? Because this mass is in contact with some surface, it is kept on some frictionless surface. So one thing is that it's going to have some normal force acting on it, and gravity is also trying to pull the mass. So we will have some force due to gravity, which will be equal to mg by cap. Let us set our coordinate systems also. Let us say that this is x direction and this is y direction. Okay, so gravity is towards minus y, so this is going to be like this. And then there is a restoring force which is due to the spring. Let me call it fs. So let me put it here also, fs. So this is what? This is the restoring force due to the spring, because the spring follows the Hooke's law. Okay, so the spring will try to come back to its original equilibrium position. So now if we now we know that the mass can only move along x direction and there is no motion along y direction. So we know that the forces along y axis should balance out, right? So this means that my normal along y-axis, the forces should balance out. So n plus fg should be equal to 0, or n is equal to minus fg. Okay, this we know that this balances out. Now we are only interested in motion along x-axis. So now let us see that along x-axis what forces we have. We only have one force, which is the restoring force, which is Fs. Okay. So also one thing, why is this called a simple harmonic oscillator? Did I tell you that? Harmonic oscillator would be any system which is undergoing some sinusoidal oscillatory motion. But why is it called a simple harmonic motion? Why is it simple? Because here we would have only one net force, which is due to the restoring force. Okay, if you will add some damping into this or any other force you will add into this, then it will not be a simple harmonic motion. So when you consider a system which is only the only force which is acting on the system is the restoring force, which can be, in this case, this restoring force is coming due to the spring, and for a pendulum that restoring force would be coming from the gravity. So whenever you have only one restoring force acting on your system and the system is doing sinusoidal oscillations, only then you say it's a simple harmonic motion. Otherwise, when there are other forces, if the oscillations are harmonic, you will say it's a harmonic oscillator, but you will not say it's a simple harmonic oscillator. It's a simple harmonic oscillator only when you only have one restoring force acting on it. There is only one force which is at play. All other forces are not there. Okay. So along x-axis, I only have one force, which is the restoring force of the spring. So now let us write the what is the equation of motion is going to be. So let us look at the equation of motion. So we know that from Newton's third law, we know that we can write that F net is equal to mass into acceleration, which is m d square dt square. Okay. So now we know that F net, the net force acting along the x direction is nothing but the restoring force, and restoring force is equal to minus kx. Okay. Here x, let us just try to understand. Here x is here, this is x initial is actually where we are going to say that anything which is towards the right hand side of x initial is positive x, and anything that is towards the left side of x initial is minus x. Okay, so that is our convention that we are going to follow. So here in this particular case, because I have stretched the spring, so this x is positive, okay, and it's along this positive x direction. So now I know that my restoring force is going to act in a direction opposite to the direction of the displacement. So displacement is towards the positive x direction, so force is going to act towards the negative x direction. So we would have something like this. Okay, so now let us just substitute F net may, let us just substitute Fs, and then try to find out, um, let us write it in a vector form. So it's something like this. Okay, so now let us take this equation and this equation. So let me write here that F net along x is equal to Fs simply. So what we are going to do is that let us substitute or equate these two equations. Okay, so this is what we should get. So now this is a differential equation because it contains derivative terms, and it's a second order differential equation because it contains a second order derivative term. Okay, so this is known as the differential equation for the simple harmonic oscillator, and now our aim is going to be to try and find out solutions of x, that how x is changing with t. So what we want to do is we want to find how xt varies. Okay, that is our goal, that we want to find out x as a function of t, like how it's changing with time. So there are multiple ways of solving second order differential equations, which you will also study in your mathematical physics part. So here we will not try to attempt to solve this equation, but I'll tell you, but we are going to guess some solution, and you will check yourself that when you substitute that form of x in this equation, it satisfies this equation. So this is another thing that you do in physics. Sometimes equations are this equation not per se, but sometimes some equations are very difficult and it is difficult to solve them by the known methods. So many times if you have some understanding of what kind of motion you are expecting or you have observed, sometimes you guess those solutions and substitute those in the differential equations, and sometimes when they work, then you know that you have guessed the right solution. So that is also done multiple times. So what I wanted to say here was, yes, so we will try to find solution of this differential equation, but we will also have to keep in mind that the solution has to satisfy the initial boundary conditions. Okay, so what are boundary conditions? Boundary conditions are those conditions that before you set the system in motion, when the system was at equilibrium, so there were some properties associated with the system. Okay, the system was in a certain state, so whatever solution you find out, that solution also has to satisfy the system when time was equal to zero, है ना? तो जो भी solution हमें मिलेगा, if we will put t is equal to zero in that solution, it should satisfy, or it should give us the same state in which the system was at time is equal to zero. So these are the boundary conditions, and they are usually given that what was the value of x when t is equal to zero. So in our case, I have written that x was at some x initial value. Okay, this is the first boundary condition, and the second boundary condition हम define करेंगे velocity पर. What is dx by dt, or this thing, at t is equal to 0. So what was the initial velocity? The mass was at rest. Okay, so the initial velocity was equal to 0. So these are the two boundary conditions. So so now our goal is that we are going to guess some form of x which we think can be the solution, and then we are going to make sure that that guessed solution actually satisfies these boundary conditions. That is our goal for the moment. Okay, now there is a theorem in mathematics known as the uniqueness theorem. Okay, I don't know if you are aware with this, but okay, so you can read about it later if you are interested, but I'll tell you the gist of this theorem. Okay, so whenever you are trying to solve some differential equations, so what uniqueness theorem says is that first thing, let us just look at this equation. Okay, so in this equation we know it's a second order differential equation. So whatever solution that we are going to guess should have two arbitrary constants. So that is the first thing we have to keep in mind while we are trying to guess some solution, that it has to have two arbitrary constants. Okay, so what uniqueness theorem says is that if you are able to find one function or one solution with the required number of arbitrary constants, okay, in this case that would be 2. So if I am able to find one solution which satisfies this equation and it has the correct number of arbitrary constants, that means it has two arbitrary constants, and it also satisfies the initial boundary conditions which I have specified, in that case, that this guess solution is the one and only unique solution of the problem. Okay, so if we are able, so what uniqueness theorem ने क्या बोला कि अगर हम एक भी solution निकाल सकते हैं ऐसा जो इस equation को satisfy करता है और जिसमें required number of arbitrary constants हैं, यानी कि इसमें, बिकॉज ये सेकेंड ऑर्डर डिफरेंशियल इक्वेशन है, अगर उस सोल्यूशन में दो आर्बिटरी कांस्टेंट्स हैं और वो सोल्यूशन इनिशियल बाउंड्री कंडीशंस को भी सेटिस्फाई करता है, इन दैट केस दैट इज द वन एंड ओनली यूनिक सोल्यूशन ऑफ दिस इक्वेशन. ओके, सो दिस इज व्हाट यूनिकनेस थ्योरम सेज. सो नाउ because we are sort of we know कि यूजुअली अगर स्प्रिंग मास सिस्टम होगा और मैं अगर स्प्रिंग को रिलीज करूँगी तो आई हैव a certain notion, I've seen it maybe sometimes, that it is going to do some back and forth motion. So the solution that we are going to guess is going to be a sinusoidal sort of solution. So let us say the solution I guess, let us write a general solution. Some x of t. Yes. Is there a question?
Ma'am, yes, like if we substitute the initial boundary conditions, then arbitrary constants will go away, right? Then there will be no arbitrary constants in that case.
Yes, yes, that is true. So initial conditions are used to get to remove the arbitrary constants from the equation, right? But when you talk about general solution, like if you will guess any solution, okay, so that for that particular solution you have to have those many arbitrary constants. अगर मैं थर्ड ऑर्डर डिफरेंशियल इक्वेशन लूंगी, तो अगर मेरा गेस सोल्यूशन में 3 आर्बिटरी कांस्टेंट्स नहीं है, तो आई एम रॉन्ग इन द फर्स्ट प्लेस, ओके। अगर मैं इनिशियल बाउंड्री कंडीशंस लगाऊं एंड देन आई नो दैट वन ऑफ दैट आर्बिटरी कांस्टेंट गोज टू जीरो, then I'm left with 2 arbitrary constants is okay. But the general solution needs to have as many arbitrary constants as the order of the equation. So yeah, what was your question? I think
My question was like, if yes,
yes.
let's
So yeah, so
sorry, but my question was,
yes,
my
yes.
question was, if we by your definition, if you go by your definition, then for this initial value problem, if we have 2 arbitrary constants, then it will have a unique that solution
Yes,
is the
yes.
unique solution
It's the
for
unique
that initial
solution.
value.
Yes, yes.
But
Yes.
my doubt was, if we put the boundary conditions, then the arbitrary constants go away. Then there are then the definition does not hold.
No, actually,
there are no arbitrary constants now.
yeah, actually, the use of initial boundary conditions is for getting away with the arbitrary constants. Okay, but for the general solution, you need to have that many arbitrary constants. So uniqueness theorem का मतलब ये हुआ, जैसे अभी मैं कोई एक solution guess करूँगी. Let us say I guess some solution which has 2 arbitrary constants, okay, and then I plug that solution in this equation, and it satisfies this equation, okay. So my first condition is satisfied. Now if I also check that what happens with the initial boundary conditions, ठीक है, जो मेरा गेस सोल्यूशन है वो एक्चुअली अगर टाइम 0 है उस पर कोई x इनिशियल पर ही जा रहा है, बल्कि इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू इन्फिनिटी, और यू नो देयर कैन बी मल्टीपल फंक्शंस व्हिच माइट satisfy this equation, okay. But the nature of the solution at x at time is equal to 0 has to satisfy the initial conditions, okay. So if let us say some kind of a decaying function or some exponential function or some arbitrary function I have chosen, and it somehow satisfies this equation, but it does not give me the desired initial value when I substitute the initial conditions, then that is not the unique solution of that problem. Then that is one solution of the problem. So what uniqueness theorem says is that the general solution should have that many arbitrary constants as the order of the equation, but that solution should also give you the desired result when you put the initial boundary conditions. So by putting the initial boundary conditions, you will get one particular value for the arbitrary constants, कुछ value आएगा उन दोनों का, but that is okay. But what I'm talking about is general solution. General solution में you will always have that many arbitrary constant. उस general solution का एक particular मतलब एक particular initial conditions के लिए एक particular solution मिला है, but that general solution is the only unique solution of this equation. Are you understanding? The general solution is the unique solution. वो जो जनरल फॉर्म होगा सोल्यूशन का, जो कि जैसे मैं अभी यहाँ पर लिखने वाली हूँ, सो दैट इज द यूनिक सोल्यूशन ऑफ दिस इक्वेशन. सो इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ एनी इनिशियल बाउंड्री कंडीशंस, ठीक है, अगर कोई जनरल सोल्यूशन तुमने लिखा है and maybe it satisfies one initial boundary conditions, then you change the boundary conditions, it also satisfies that boundary condition. So that general solution is actually the correct solution of this equation. It will satisfy whatever initial boundary conditions you are dealing with at the moment. So that is what uniqueness theorem says, that for this particular problem, that you have a differential equation and you have this initial boundary conditions, तो इस set के लिए one and only जो unique solution है वो इस form से मिल रहा है, इस general solution की इस form से मिल रहा है. That is what it is saying. वो बात सही है कि जो इनिशियल बाउंड्री कंडीशंस होते हैं वो लगाने के बाद क्या होता है, यू फाइंड आउट कि आर्बिट्ररी कांस्टेंट का वैल्यू क्या है. बाउंड्री कंडीशंस का मकसद ही वो होता है. that you find out ki what is the value of the constant, so that that the initial conditions are satisfied. But you can also guess some solution x जो कि equation satisfy कर रहा है, but when you substitute the initial boundary conditions, maybe both the constants come out to be zero. So in that case, it's not a solution anymore. Then it is just x is equal to 0, right? So in that case, uniqueness theorem would say that it is not the solution. So both of the things have to be satisfied. Are you getting what I'm saying?
So, ma'am, basically what you're saying is that there are difference between the unique solution and the particular solution.
Particular solution. मतलब what do you mean by particular
Like
solution?
like for different boundary conditions, there come out different particular solutions, but the general solution is a combination of all of them.
Yes, because the general solution will have arbitrary constants, right? And those constants का क्या value होगा will depend on different initial conditions. If you will choose different initial, अगर initial condition अलग होगा तो उसके corresponding जो arbitrary constant है उनका values भी अलग होगा. But if those values come out to be zero, then it's not a solution of that equation. That is what uniqueness theorem is saying.
तो ट्रिवियल सॉल्यूशन हो गया वो तो फिर.
हाँ, वो trivial solution हो गया in that case. So मतलब that is the gist that I'm saying. Anyway, this is not really required for you right now. ये I think mathematical physics में भी sir differential equations solve कराएंगे, second order differential equations and वो सारे चीज़ें बहुत complicated methods. So here what I wanted to tell was that if you have if let us say there is some equation is given to you and somebody gives you a guess solution, so how will you tell that that is the solution of that equation? Pehle you will just substitute that that guess solution into the equation. If it satisfies right hand side is equal to left hand side, then you will say that ठीक है ये satisfy कर रहा है. But then you will also check with the initial boundary conditions. अगर initial boundary conditions पे you are getting at least one of the arbitrary constants to be non-zero, ठीक है, तो you can say okay, it is some solution. If both of them come out to be zero, then that is not a solution of the equation. So that is all we need right now for this course, okay? Baki, if you want to discuss uniqueness theorem in detail, so maybe we can do that later and maybe you can read it a bit, okay? So this is, I think, different from the uniqueness, something you read in EMT. I think this is not that is some other theorem. This is from mathematics. So you can give it a reading later maybe, okay?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
मैम प्लीज आप इंग्लिश एंड हिंदी दोनों यूज करिएगा पढ़ाते टाइम.
अच्छा ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है.
शुरू में आप सिर्फ इंग्लिश बोले थे यस मैम.
अच्छा ठीक है. ओ माय गॉड, मेरे पास चैट में इतना सारा है. वेट, लेट मी रीड स्टार्टिंग से. आई हैव ओके, संचित हैज़ द वॉल्टर फॉक्स स्मिथ ई बुक. Okay, so he wants to share. Okay, Sanchit, in a few days we will have a discussion group for once the classes are finalized. Okay, how many students have actually taken admission into the course? Once that is done, then there would be a discussion group for the students. So there you can share the book. Okay. Then Halliday Resnick, good for problem solving. Halliday Resnick में बहुत ही ज़्यादा मतलब brief में दिया होगा. I mean, for what kind of problem solving you want to do, I don't know. For optics, I don't see what you are going to solve in Halliday Resnick. Okay, Sanchit also has Eugene's. Okay, so those of you who have ebooks and you want to share it with your friends, so there is going to be a discussion group. तो वहाँ पे you can share a WhatsApp discussion group होगा. Mayank is saying, ma'am, can you please use both Hindi and English? हाँ ठीक है, मैं अभी use कर लूँगी. Okay, then Akash is also saying कि इसको he prefers Hindi. Okay. Then I don't know, somebody is asking, ma'am, please explain restoring force again. So ये अभी समझ आया है या do I need to go to this again? सो हुक्स लॉ तो पढ़ा ही होगा ना कभी, मतलब आई थिंक 12th में ही पढ़ लेते हैं हुक्स लॉ. तो बेसिकली रॉबर्ट हुक ने ये डिस्कवर किया था. इट इज़ नॉट समथिंग जो मैथमेटिकली डिराइव किया है. इट इज़ बेस्ड ऑन ऑब्जर्वेशन. ओके, सो ही सॉ दैट if you sort of for spring for example, तुमने even practical में भी किया होगा that you take a spring and you sort of extend it. तो जितना extension हुआ है spring में और जितना restoring force spring लगा रहा है, they are seen to be proportional to each other. So वो Robert Hooke ने he observed it like way back in 1800 or some, like बहुत पुराना लॉ है. सो उस टाइम पे ही सॉ दैट, बट ही फाउंड दिस टू बी ट्रू नॉट ओनली विद स्प्रिंग्स बट अदर इलास्टिक मटीरियल्स ऑल्सो. सो बेसिकली जो हुक लॉ होता है वो तुमको ये बताता है कि किसी एक मटेरियल का जो इलास्टिक प्रॉपर्टीज़ है वो कैसे वेरी कर रहा है. ठीक है. सो फॉर अ स्मॉल पोर्शन, मतलब एक थोड़े से रीजन के लिए हर एक मटेरियल का एक स्पेसिफिक डिस्टेंस होगा जहाँ तक तुम उस मटेरियल को खींच सकते हो. उसके बाद अगर खींचोगे तो वो मटेरियल टूट जाएगा. ठीक है. सो ही एक्चुअली फाउंड दिस इन ऑब्जर्वेशन. उसने एक्सपेरिमेंट्स किए थे एंड ही फाउंड दैट अप टू अ सर्टन डिस्टेंस, बहुत छोटे एक्स वैल्यू के लिए, मतलब बहुत छोटे इलोंगेशन या कंप्रेशन के लिए, जो मटेरियल होता है उसमें इतना इलास्टिसिटी होता है दैट इट कैन मेंटेन इट्स शेप. मतलब इट कैन कुछ एक रिस्टोरिंग फोर्स वो मटेरियल लगा सकता है टू कम बैक टू इट्स ओरिजिनल पोजिशन. जैसे एक स्प्रिंग होगा, उस स्प्रिंग को अगर तुम प्रेस कर दोगे, ठीक है, तो स्प्रिंग विल ट्राई टू कम बैक टू इट्स ओरिजिनल प्लेस बिकॉज देर इज़ अ रिस्टोरिंग फोर्स, सम इलास्टिक प्रॉपर्टीज देयर. सो ये रॉबर्ट हुक ने ऑब्जर्व किया था, बट देन इट वॉज फाउंड टू बी ट्रू फॉर a lot of cases, and so it is called as Hooke's law, but it is not something that has been mathematically derived. It is purely मतलब observation के through, they sort of saw that this is true. So I will show you एक
जी मैम, thank you so much, I can understand.
okay, thank you. So अभी टूवर्ड्स द मतलब मुझे एक हुक्स लॉ का वो भी शेयर करना है. आई हैव टू शो अ फिगर, बट लेट अस जस्ट कम टू दैट एज द डिस्कशन प्रोग्रेसेस. ओके. सो अभी हम क्या कर रहे थे, वी वर ट्राइंग टू फाइंड आउट अ सोल्यूशन फॉर दिस इक्वेशन. सो एक जनरल सोल्यूशन जो था वो मैं इस तरह से लिखने वाली हूँ, a cos omega t ओके. नाउ व्हाट इज़ ओमेगा हियर. सो यहाँ पे हम थोड़ा सा देख लेते हैं. तो ये वाला जो इक्वेशन है, आई कैन ऑल्सो राइट इट एज राइट. So then what is omega? Omega is square root of k by m. ठीक है. सो हमने k by m को ओमेगा स्क्वायर से रिप्लेस कर दिया है. सो दैट इज़ दिस ओमेगा विच इज़ द एंगुलर फ्रीक्वेंसी ऑफ ऑसिलेशन. सो अब ये जो जनरल सोल्यूशन है इसमें आई हैव टू आर्बिटरी कॉन्स्टेंट्स, वन इज़ a एंड वन इज़ b. ठीक है. सो एक चीज़ तो हम कर सकते हैं जो कि आप करेंगे, मैं नहीं करूँगी. सो वन थिंग दैट यू विल डू इज़ दैट यू विल सब्सटीट्यूट दिस form of equation into this, let me call this maybe equation A. ठीक है. So you will substitute it here and you will try to see if this equation this solution satisfies this equation or not. Okay. And
जी मैम,
बाकी
करते हैं।
हाँ, ये आप खुद से करेंगे. और
जी।
फिर सेकंड हम क्या करेंगे, नाउ वी विल ट्राई टू फाइंड आउट द वैल्यूज़ ऑफ ए एंड बी. तो जैसे अभी डिस्कशन हुआ था दैट बाय यूजिंग द पर्टिकुलर इनिशियल वैल्यूज़ ऑफ द सिस्टम वी आर गोइंग टू फाइंड आउट व्हाट इज़ ए एंड बी. ठीक है. सो इनिशियल वैल्यूज़ ऑलरेडी मैंने यहाँ पे लिख के रखा है. दिस इज़ द जस्ट अ सेकेंड, दिस इज़
Is
द
equal to
फर्स्ट
zero.
इनिशियल. हाँ, yes. So what we will do is that let us put t is equal to 0. So x at t is equal to 0 is actually equal to a plus 0 because sine of 0 is 0, right? And this should be equal to x initial. So this means that a should be equal to x initial. So we know that one arbitrary constant is now no longer arbitrary. Uska value hai x is equal to a is equal to x initial. So this was my first boundary condition. So now let us see the second boundary condition at t is equal to 0.
At first
So
derivative.
yes, so that is for the velocity. So that was equal to 0. तो जब तक हमने spring mass system को disturb नहीं किया था, the mass was at rest. So we know that the initial velocity was equal to 0. So let us calculate the first derivative dx by dt of this solution. Let me call this b. This is my general solution. So from equation b, I'm going to calculate the derivative dx by dt. So that is going to be a omega right. Now this should be equal to
Yes,
at
ma'am.
t is equal to 0. This should be equal this should be equal to 0. So now at t is equal to 0, this term is anyway equal to 0 because sine of 0 is 0. So this means that b should be equal to 0. Okay. So the
Okay, ma'am.
solution for this particular set of initial boundary conditions is that xt is equal to x initial cos of omega t, right? So now up is solution mein there are no arbitrary constants because this is like somebody said the particular solution for this particular set of initial conditions. But jo general solution hai which is given by equation b that has two arbitrary constants a and b. So for some other set of initial conditions a और b का value कुछ
मैम
अलग आएगा.
बी मैम बी 0 हो गया तो मैम ये इक्वेशन बी में पुट नहीं करेंगे हम
कर दिया ना
For
वो इक्वेशन बी में पुट करने के बाद ही ये वाला इक्वेशन आया. ए का वैल्यू था एक्स इनिशियल. देखो इक्वेशन बी में ए का वैल्यू निकला था ए इज इक्वल टू एक्स इनिशियल और बी का वैल्यू 0. सो सेकेंड टर्म तो कम्प्लीटली 0 हो गई.
जी
तो एक्स टी इज इक्वल टू एक्स इनिशियल कॉस ओमेगा टी.
जी
which
मैम
is
ठीक
this. Okay.
जी जी जी
So now this is the solution for the particular case that we are considering. Okay. So now,
Ma'am?
yes.
मैम जैसे मैंने जनरली जो सॉल्यूशन देखे हैं दे वुड हैव टेकन x इक्वल्स टू a sin ओमेगा t प्लस फाइव और a cos ओमेगा t प्लस फाइव. सो हम वो भी ले सकते हैं क्या, मतलब ये लेना
हाँ,
और वो लेना,
हाँ.
डिफरेंस क्या है?
नहीं, कोई डिफरेंस नहीं है. मैं अभी इसी सोल्यूशन को मल्टीपल फॉर्म्स में लिख के दिखाऊंगी. ऑल दोज फॉर्म्स आर एक्चुअली द सेम सोल्यूशन. तो आपका जो
मैम ये
क्वेश्चन है वो
जनरल फॉर्म
अभी
है
हो
इजी है
जाएगा. क्या चीज़?
ये इजी है मैम
हाँ, ये जनरल सोल्यूशन इजी है, बट देर आर अदर फॉर्म्स विच आर यूजफुल इन अदर वेज. ठीक है. सो पहले वो ही कर लेती हूँ मैं. सो नहीं, या पहले वो ही लिख लेते हैं. सो अदर वेज दैट यू कैन राइट दिस सोल्यूशन इज, मतलब पहला तरीका तो हुआ दैट यू कैन राइट एक्स टी इज इक्वल टू ए कॉस ओमेगा टी plus b sin omega t, right? ये तो मतलब this was the general solution which I took and फिर initial boundary conditions लगा के I found out the value of a and b. ठीक है. This is one way. Now another way that you can look at this solution is xt is equal to a cos omega t plus phi. Okay. So यहाँ पर भी दो arbitrary constants हुए. ठीक है. These are different forms of general solution.
मैम फाई इज एंगल
Yes. ठीक है. So we can also write it like this, but actually 1 and 2 are same solutions. कैसे? Let us try to expand this. So cos omega t plus phi, मतलब trigonometric expansion कर सकते हैं cos का ना, तो you will get a cos of omega t cos of phi minus b
minus
not b minus a sine of omega t sine phi, right?
yes
और
ma'am
इसको हम लिख सकते हैं a of cos phi cos omega t plus minus a of sin phi sin omega t. ठीक है. So अगर if we compare the first solution and the second solution, so this is nothing but this is some constant a, because phi भी constant है ना. Here phi is a
yes
constant, a is a constant. So a
yes
cos of phi is some constant जो कि a मान सकते हैं हम, और ये जो है minus a sin phi इसको b मान सकते हैं. तो basically both forms are equivalent. Whether you write xt as a cos omega t plus b sin omega t, or you write xt as a cos of omega t plus phi, both forms are actually equivalent. Then there is a third way also that you can write this. तो xt को हम ये भी लिख सकते हैं
iota theta omega
yes
t.
omega t. So यहाँ पे हमने क्या किया है, हमने रियल पार्ट ले लिया है, एक
मैम ये कॉम्प्लेक्स
एक्सपोनेंशियल.
फॉर्म है इसकी वैसे
हाँ हाँ हाँ, तो इस तरह से भी लिख सकते हैं. ठीक है. सो ऑल दीज थ्री आर एक्चुअली द सेम थिंग. सो अगर ये इक्वेशन को मतलब इफ समबडी गिव्स आस्क यू व्हाट इज द जनरल सोल्यूशन, सो ऑल दीज थ्री आर एक्चुअली द सेम थिंग. ठीक है. सो अभी देर आर टू थिंग्स विच आर लाइक द टू प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ द सोल्यूशन. सो लेट अस लुक एट दैट. सो फर्स्ट प्रॉपर्टी होगा द सुपरपोजिशन प्रॉपर्टी. ठीक है. सो लेट मी टेल यू व्हाट आई मीन बाय दैट. सुपरपोजिशन. सो लेट अस से दैट x1t कोई सोल्यूशन है जो इक्वेशन को सेटिस्फाई करता है. ठीक है. एंड कोई सोल्यूशन x2t भी है जो इस इक्वेशन को सेटिस्फाई करता है. तो अगर इन दोनों सोल्यूशंस को हम ऐड कर देंगे, मतलब x1t प्लस x2t, अभी जनरल सोल्यूशन की बात हो रही है. ठीक है. सो अगर मैं इन दोनों को ऐड करके कोई तीसरा सोल्यूशन बनाऊंगी लाइक दिस, विच इज़ सुपरपोजिशन. व्हाट इज सुपरपोजिशन? सुपरपोजिशन मीन्स कि एक सोल्यूशन के ऊपर दूसरा सोल्यूशन रख दिया, मतलब एक सोल्यूशन के ऊपर दूसरा सोल्यूशन ऐड कर दिया. यू हैव सुपर इम्पोज्ड
इस
on
तरह
top
मैम
of each other.
इंस्ट्रक्टिव और इंस्ट्रक्टिव इंटरफेरेंस होती है इसी तरह.
हाँ, वो बाद में मतलब यही सुपरपोजिशन प्रिंसिपल बाद में यूज़ होगा व्हेन यू विल हैव मतलब बेसिकली दो वेव्स होंगी, सुपर इम्पोज करेंगी टू गिव यू डिस्ट्रक्टिव एंड कंस्ट्रक्टिव इंटरफेरेंस. So then, so the one property of the solution is that superposition. So if x1t is some solution which satisfies the equation and x2t also satisfies, so if you will take the sum of these two solutions, so they will also satisfy. So the second property is the time translation. टाइम ट्रांसलेशन इनवेरिएंस. सो इसका मतलब है कि अगर xt एक सोल्यूशन है, ठीक है, और अब मैं कुछ x ऑफ t डैश कंसिडर करूं विच इज़ सम x एट सम टाइम t प्लस a, और t प्लस t1 लिख देते हैं, t प्लस t1. ठीक है. सो दिस इज़ some solution at some time t plus t1. So actually this is also going to be a solution for the equation. This is also a solution. कैसे? इसके लिए we can use this complex form, जो ये complex form में लिखा है, उससे we can see this. So let us say कि जो xt है that is equal to the real part of a exponential I omega t plus phi. ठीक है, we know that this is a solution. Now I say that I'm looking at x plus t1. I'm actually looking at x at some point t dash which is equal to x t plus t1. मतलब किसी और t dash time पर I have some solution given to me. So
Sir.
what I will do is, let us just substitute the value of t here, omega t plus t1 plus phi. Okay, that will be just real of a omega t plus omega t1 plus phi. ठीक है, ये आएगा. And if you remember what is omega, omega is equal to under root k by m. ठीक है, so for a given
Yes.
system, for a given spring mass system, जो k होगा वो constant होगा. k जो होता है वो spring constant होता है. It is constant for that particular spring that you are considering. ठीक है, and m भी constant होगा. m is some mass जो तुमने spring के ऊपर अटैच किया है. वी आर नॉट कंसिडरिंग एनी मास विच इज़ वेरिंग विद टाइम. एंड जो के है वो भी टाइम के साथ वेरी नहीं कर रहा है. स्प्रिंग कांस्टेंट इज अ कांस्टेंट. सो व्हाट दैट मीन्स इज कि ओमेगा क्या है, इट इज़ अ कांस्टेंट क्वांटिटी. ठीक है, और अब यहाँ पर अगर हम देखें, दिस इफ यू सी, दिस इज ऑल्सो सम कांस्टेंट. ओमेगा t1 क्या है, t1 का कुछ वैल्यू होगा, इट इज सम टाइम, एंड देन ओमेगा इज कांस्टेंट, एंगुलर वेलोसिटी कांस्टेंट है. सो ओमेगा t1 इज ऑल्सो सम कांस्टेंट. सो बेसिकली ये वाला जो टर्म है, वी कैन से दिस इज सम न्यू कांस्टेंट phi1. ठीक है, सो दैट मीन्स कि माई सोल्यूशन कैन नाउ बी रिटन omega t plus phi1. So now this is also a solution. This is also a general solution. मतलब we came back to the same form of general solution जहाँ पर phi1 is some other constant now. ठीक है, so this is known as the time translation invariance. If you change the sort of the place from where you are looking at the motion, मतलब अगर तुम कहीं टाइम में आगे जाके सेम मोशन को देखने की कोशिश करते हो, तो दैट विल नॉट चेंज द नेचर ऑफ द सोल्यूशन फॉर सिंपल हार्मोनिक मोशन. सिंपल हार्मोनिक मोशन में हमेशा वो एक बार ऑसिलेशन कर रहा है, तो इट विल कीप ऑन ऑसिलेटिंग. सो वेर एवर यू गो इन टाइम, you will always be able to see that oscillatory motion. ठीक है, so these are the two important properties of the solution for a simple harmonic oscillator. So abhi next what we are going to do is we are going to see कि जो simple harmonic oscillator होता है या simple harmonic oscillations होती हैं, how are they related to uniform circular motion. ठीक है, so वो हम एक आज पढ़ते हैं. कितना टाइम बच रहा है, सिर्फ 10 मिनट ही है. एक सेकेंड, आई हैव वन मोर चैट. someone's mic is left on. Okay, let me see. I think everybody's mic is off, Sanjay. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think everybody's mic is off. Okay, so please keep your mics off. अपना माइक तभी ऑन करें व्हेन यू हैव सम क्वेश्चन टू आस्क. नहीं तो क्या होता है ना, थोड़ा भी डिस्टर्बेंस होता है तो ऑनलाइन क्लासेस में सभी लोग डिस्टर्ब हो जाते हैं. अगर आप थोड़ा पेन भी हिलाते हैं, कुछ भी करते हैं, तो प्लीज़ कीप योर माइक ऑफ. ओनली टर्न इट ऑन व्हेन यू हैव समथिंग टू आस्क. ठीक है, सो दिस इज द बेसिक like decorum of the class maintain करने के लिए. this is the basic thing that you should do. okay, तो अभी 10 ही मिनट है, करें या ना करें इसको, या फिर इसको बाद में कर लेते हैं. पहले वेलोसिटी और एक्सेलरेशन निकाल लेते हैं क्योंकि वो कंटिन्यूएशन में ही हो जाएगा. ठीक है, सो let us go back to this equation. So this was the solution. Let me call this equation C. So ये solution मिला था for the spring mass system when we substituted the initial conditions. ठीक है, so now let me say that जो x initial है, let me say that that is equal to A. ठीक है, because I do not want to write x initial हर जगह. तो what is A? A is the amplitude I am saying. ठीक है. और cos ओमेगा टी जो, हाँ मैं इसमें ये एक्सप्लेन कर रही थी उस टाइम पे कि हार्मोनिक ऑसिलेशंस कहाँ से आई, वो आई ड्यू टू द कॉस टर्म, कोसाइन टर्म की वजह से. वी नो दैट देयर इज़ अ sinusoidal variation, and x initial क्या है? x initial is the amplitude of those sinusoidal equations. So basically जो मैंने starting में बोला था that your point or the body is moving between two extremes, तो वो कितने extremes में जा रहा है? What is the amplitude? Amplitude is the maximum distance it would go away from the equilibrium position. ठीक है. So now let us try to calculate what is the velocity and acceleration for our system. So I am going to consider the solution of this type. Cos of omega t plus phi, ये वाला I am considering. So यहाँ पर I have not chosen any initial conditions. I am just taking the general solution. But I know from the understanding कि A क्या होगा? A is going to be the amplitude, and this term is going to be the phase. Okay. So ये phase वाला जो concept है, ये मैं next class में बहुत अच्छे से पढ़ाऊँगी जब हम लोग consider करेंगे कि basically phase क्या बताता है. ठीक है. In an oscillation phase का मतलब क्या है, तो वो हमें समझ आएगा when we will consider the simple harmonic motion as a projection of a uniform circular motion. तो अगर एक particle uniform circular motion में घूम रहा है, तो उसका अगर हम projection करते हैं तो हमें एक simple harmonic motion मिलता है. तो that relationship between a uniform circular motion and simple harmonic motion I will explain in the next class. Then it will be clear कि इसको हम phase term क्यों बोलते हैं and what it signifies. Okay. अभी हम क्या करेंगे, because we don't have much time, so let us just calculate velocity from here. So velocity is simply dx by dt. So that is going to be minus a sin omega t plus phi. ठीक है. So अब हम so we can write this as sin omega t plus phi को we know the trigonometric relation that sin square theta plus cos square theta is equal to 1. So sin square theta can be written as under root of 1 minus cos square theta. So this is 1 minus cos square theta. ठीक है. अब from this equation we can find out what is cos of omega t plus phi. It is simply x by a. ठीक है. So we can substitute it here, minus a omega under root 1 minus x by a square. Actually यहाँ पे plus minus दोनों ही आएंगे because we are considering under root of this quantity, so it can be plus minus both. So then I'll get plus minus omega under root a square minus x square. So this is one formula. So there are two formulas for velocity. One formula is this one. So let me write do something. So this is something you should remember. Okay. Then the second formula is this one, and then the third formula that you should remember is this one. Okay. So agar we look at the last formula, that is plus minus omega under root a square minus x square. So what are few things that we can see from this? ठीक है. So अगर x का value
Excuse
0
me,
होगा,
ma'am.
yes,
मैम ये वेलोसिटी में सिर्फ माइनस होना चाहिए ना, बिकॉज राइट एक्सट्रीम में बॉडी तो राइट लेफ्ट की तरफ जाएगी, तो बस माइनस
velocity का हाँ, but जब वो y extreme में होगी तब वो plus direction में जाएगी ना. वेलोसिटी का भी तो डायरेक्शन स्विच होगा। देखो वेलोसिटी क्या होगा, मैक्सिमम होगा एक्सट्रीम्स पर, देन इट विल कम टू ज़ीरो, देन इट विल गो दिस साइड, यहाँ पर वो पॉजिटिव होगा तभी तो इट विल ब्रिंग इट बैक। मतलब वही मैं अभी एक्सप्लेन करने वाली थी कि जो वेलोसिटी होगा इट विल ऑलवेज बी डायरेक्ट, जो एक्सट्रीम पोजीशंस होगा वहाँ पर जो वेलोसिटी का डायरेक्शन होगा वो हमेशा अलग डायरेक्शन में होगा। अगर तुम्हारा पार्टिकल पॉजिटिव डायरेक्शन में एक्सट्रीम पर है, मतलब प्लस ए वैल्यू पर है, मैक्सिमम एम्पलीट्यूड पर है टूवर्ड्स द राइट, तो योर वेलोसिटी विल बी पॉइंटेड टूवर्ड्स द लेफ्ट, तभी तो पार्टिकल वापस ज़ीरो पर आएगा। ठीक है, और फिर जब तुम्हारा पार्टिकल लेफ्ट साइड में एक्सट्रीम पर होगा, यानी कि माइनस ए पर होगा, उस टाइम पर जो वेलोसिटी होगी इट विल बी डायरेक्टेड टूवर्ड्स द प्लस, तभी पार्टिकल वापस फिर से ज़ीरो पर आएगा। तो वेलोसिटी, अगर पार्टिकल को ज़ीरो पोजीशन क्रॉस करना है इधर जाने के लिए, इधर जाने के लिए, तो वेलोसिटी ऑल्सो हैज़ टू चेंज इट्स साइन। अगर वेलोसिटी का एक ही साइन रहेगा तो पार्टिकल एक ही डायरेक्शन में जाएगा। वेलोसिटी ऑल्सो हैज़ टू स्विच साइंस for the particle to undergo oscillation.
I mean, like at t is equal to 0, the spring is in stretched position. That's why we have x initial is a, right?
No, it's not in stretched position. Spring का कोई एक particular length भी तो होगा ना, मतलब अगर spring को तुम stretch नहीं कर रहे हो, you have just kept the spring and at the end of the spring you have some mass. ये जो x initial है, ये this is just telling you some distance x. ठीक है, अगर मैं यहाँ पर अपना कोऑर्डिनेट का ज़ीरो मान लूँ, मतलब इफ़ आई से दैट दिस इज इक्वल टू ज़ीरो, आई सेट माई ओरिजिन एट दिस पॉइंट, तो फिर माई एक्स इनिशियल कैन बी इक्वल टू ज़ीरो, बट आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट दैट इज़ द ओरिजिन पॉइंट। ठीक है, मेरा ओरिजिन कहीं पर भी हो सकता है कोऑर्डिनेट सिस्टम का। तो व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज कि इन माई कोऑर्डिनेट सिस्टम जो स्प्रिंग है वो मतलब बिना ही मतलब बिल्कुल नेचुरल स्टेट में, व्हेन इट इज़ नॉट एक्सटेंडेड एंड इट इज़ नॉट कंप्रेस्ड, एट इट्स नेचुरल लेंथ my mass is at some coordinate x initial. That is what I am saying. I can put it equal to 0 also by choosing that to be the origin of my system, but right now I have not done that. You can do that ways also. ठीक है, so इसीलिए जो मैंने x बाद में मतलब displacement consider किया है, I have considered it for x initial. So even if you choose x initial का कोई भी वैल्यू चूज करो, with respect to that you are calculating how much by how much your spring has extended with respect to its initial length. ठीक है, so what was I saying? हाँ, यहाँ पर थे ना, so we were looking at the velocity, है ना। so यहाँ पर let us look at x. so what is x? x is the displacement. तो जैसे अभी डिस्कशन हो रहा था कि you have some equilibrium position and then the mass is either pulled this way or the mass is this side. ठीक है, if the mass is pulled this way the spring is stretched, if the mass is this side the spring is compressed, right? so let us say कि जो हमारा mass है वो maximum displacement पे हमने stretch किया है, that means that x is equal to a. तो क्या होगा वहाँ पे, when x is equal to a, your a square minus a square will cancel. So your velocity at the extremes would go to 0. But just before that, you can calculate that what is the velocity. You can calculate by putting in the values of x, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So this is ठीक है, तो अभी हम एक्सेलरेशन भी कैलकुलेट कर सकते हैं. सो वी विल टेक दिस इक्वेशन एंड वी विल this colors are like, we will take this equation and we will differentiate it with respect to time to calculate acceleration. ठीक है, so let us do that because और time नहीं है. So what is acceleration then? That is the double derivative. So that will give me minus a omega square cos of omega t plus phi, right? So again, we can substitute cos of omega t plus phi, which was equal to x by a. यहाँ पे निकाला था, यहाँ पे निकाला था, ठीक है? So that will give me minus a omega square x by a, which is minus omega square x, right? So at extremes, मतलब जब x is equal to a, when the spring is stretched to its maximum position, your acceleration is actually going to be maximum. और जब हम origin पे होंगे, when x is equal to 0, equilibrium position पे होंगे, at that place your acceleration is actually 0. वहाँ पर velocity maximum होगा. तो जब हम origin पर होंगे, velocity क्या होगा? Velocity at x is equal to 0 क्या होगा? जो dx by dt है, which is the velocity, will be equal to, if we just look at the magnitude, will be equal to this much. And if we consider कि किस direction में जा रहे हैं, तो वो sign से पता चल जाएगा velocity इस तरफ pointed है या इस तरफ pointed है. And when we will look at the acceleration at x is equal to 0, that is equal to 0. ठीक है? So because of this velocity, your particle will overshoot in this direction. And similarly, जब इधर से आ रहा है, तो यहाँ पर acceleration 0 हो गया equilibrium पे, but only because the velocity is maximum, so it will overshoot in this direction. So because of that, the oscillations will keep on happening. And at x is equal to plus minus a, at both extremes, your dx by dt, your velocity will be equal to 0, but your acceleration is equal to be will be equal to minus omega square a, ठीक है? So a का value plus minus होगा, मतलब amplitude अगर x direction में, मतलब plus positive x direction में है तो amplitude positive होगा, negative x direction में है तो amplitude negative होगा, तो उसके according acceleration का sign भी change होगा, ठीक है? When amplitude is positive, acceleration is going to be minus omega square a, and when the amplitude is negative, the acceleration is going to be omega square a, ठीक है? So you have to substitute this value. So this is the case for मतलब ये जो मैंने expression लिखा है, this is true when you are at the plus a, मतलब you are towards the right hand side of the, basically your spring is stretched, so your displacement is positive, ठीक है? So okay, so कितना time बचा है? Okay, I've already exceeded the time. So एक चीज़ जो हम try कर सकते हैं, and मतलब हम नहीं, you will try, and that is try plotting these waveforms, ठीक है? So I am plotting x of t with respect to t. ठीक है? So x of t was cosine function था a cos omega t plus phi, ठीक है? So this is my t is equal to 0, so it's going to, what is this? This is my plus a, and this is my minus a. What is a? A is the amplitude. So I will get, so I'll get something, so I'm so bad at drawing, you get something like this, ठीक है? So so this point, yeah, we had this point here, then this comes here, then it comes here. So time period क्या होता है? Time period is the minimum amount of time that you know, it will take, the motion will take to repeat itself. So then this much is my time period, so this is t, then this is yes.
ये इक्वेशन इसके लिए है ना कि जो मास है वो एक्सट्रीम पोजीशन से शुरू हो, t is equal to 0 जो वो एक्सट्रीम पोजीशन पे हो।
Yes.
कौन सा इक्वेशन?
मैम ये जो ग्राफ शो कर रहा है, जो आपने
नहीं, ये मैं जनरल सोल्यूशन प्लॉट कर रही हूँ।
और मैम जो इक्वेशन है a cos ओमेगा t plus phi, तो
अच्छा हाँ, इसमें वो कंसिडर कर सकते हो क्योंकि मेरा t इज इक्वल टू 0 पे जो मास है वो एक्सट्रीम पर है। हाँ, करेक्ट। सो जो इनिशियल कंडीशन पुट करोगे यू विल हैव टू पुट दैट, मतलब जो x ऑफ इसके लिए इनिशियल कंडीशन होगा t इज इक्वल टू 0 पे दिस इज एट प्लस a, और वेलोसिटी का जो वैल्यू होगा वो यहाँ से निकल जाएगा कि प्लस a पे वेलोसिटी होती है 0, ठीक है। सो x डॉट at t is equal to 0 is equal to 0. So these are the initial conditions for this graph that I'm plotting. Okay. So what I want you to do is that like this, also plot the waveform for velocity and the waveform for acceleration, and please see that how they are changing. Okay. Just so if you will do this, तो मतलब कुछ चीज़ें clear हो जाएंगी. You will be able to sort of remember कि formulas क्या हैं, क्या वेरी हो रहा है, कैसे प्लॉट करना है, ठीक है। और यहाँ पे मैंने एक्चुअली t डिफाइन नहीं किया आज, बट आई विल डू इट इन द नेक्स्ट क्लास, या मे बी आई विल जस्ट राइट इट हियर। सो व्हाट इज ओमेगा? ओमेगा वाज इक्वल टू k by m, which is the angular frequency. इसको हम लिख सकते हैं 2 pi by t also, ठीक है। So t is the time period here. This would mean that the time period of oscillation will be equal to 2 pi m by k, I think, right? So this is the time period. So omega का units क्या होता है? ये होता है रेडियन पर सेकेंड, और टाइम का यूनिट होगा सेकेंड, और हम एक फ्रीक्वेंसी भी डिफाइन कर सकते हैं बाय न्यू। सो न्यू वुड बी इक्वल टू ओमेगा बाय 2 पाई, तो न्यू का यूनिट्स होगा सेकेंड इनवर्स, ठीक है। सो दीज आर सम फॉर्मूलाज विच यू शुड नो, ठीक है। सो होमवर्क क्या होगा आज का? सिर्फ यही होगा, आपको रिवाइज करना है जो भी पढ़ा है, क्योंकि नेक्स्ट क्लास में वी विल डू सम क्वेश्चंस ऑन दैट। सो नेक्स्ट क्लास में मैं बता देती हूँ क्या करेंगे। सबसे पहले तो वी विल ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज़ फेज और उसका फिजिकल सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है। उसके लिए वी विल स्टडी यूनिफॉर्म सर्कुलर मोशन, एंड देन वी विल सी दैट हाउ SHM इज रिलेटेड विद द यूनिफॉर्म सर्कुलर मोशन. And after that we will find out the energy, kinetic energy and potential energy for the simple harmonic oscillator, and then we will solve numericals on this, maybe 5-6 numericals. So अभी तक जितना पढ़ा है वो आप प्लीज़ एक बार ही पढ़ लीजिएगा आने से पहले, and try to just plot these x dot and x double dot. So although ये क्लास में ही डिस्कस हो गया that what are the initial conditions, but just try to think yourself also, okay? You can try to plot these waveforms for different initial conditions. You can choose from where you are starting the motion, कहाँ से you are trying to plot the waveform. Maybe you want to start plotting it from this point, or maybe you want to start plotting it from this point, ठीक है। So for all these points you would have different initial conditions, and you will have different waveforms or different solutions for xt, x dot and x double dot, ठीक है। So I've already exceeded the time today, so I will wrap up here. So thank you for your time. Okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
so
ma'am.
you can leave now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay? Good night.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Good
you.
night, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.